So, you want to go fast, but that eBay turbo you slapped on your mom's Accord just ain't quite cutting it. Well, folks, maybe it's time to upgrade to the big leagues. Get a supercar. And great news, you don't have to be a tech mogul or be born with a name like Blue Ivy Carter to join the club. Today, we're ripping through the 8 cheapest supercars you can get your hands on, some of which are cheaper than a GR Corolla. My name's Brad, this is Ideal, like, subscribe, and let's go. When you think supercar, you think Ferrari. And today you can snag a V8 powered prancing horse for chump change. I mean, sort of. Yeah, let's be clear. When we're talking about budget Ferraris, we're still talking about cars that cost several $100,000s when new. The 360 emerged in 1999 as the replacement for the F355, and it was a game changer. It shifted away from the usual steel frame construction and had an all-new all-aluminum space frame instead. That made it lighter, stronger, and way more nimble than its predecessors.
Beneath the seductive curves of its body sits a 3.6-liter naturally aspirated V8 engine that screams Italian opera to the tune of 400 horsepower. That's right, no forced induction here, just pure, unadulterated, high-revving bliss. And let's be honest, that's the essence of a true supercar. No muffled turbos, no hybrid gimmicks, just a glorious engine. And believe it or not, they're actually pretty reliable. Well, reliable for a Ferrari. Big thing here is keep an eye on the condition of the clutch if you don't get a manual, and don't skimp on that timing belt service. Trust me.
And are Ferraris notoriously finicky? Sure, but as long as you're not buying one that's been treated like a bumper car or used as a rental in Las Vegas, you're gonna be golden. Get a topless Italian stallion for just $70K. And of course, I've linked to all these ideal rides in the pinned first comment below, so go check them out. You might end up buying one. All right, moving from Italy to England, meet the brand you buy if deep down you've always wanted to be James Bond, like I have. First, the V8 Vantage, the car for the savvy Aston Martin buyer and one of the cheapest on today's list. It was launched in 2006 to compete directly with the Porsche 911, and the V8 Vantage is the move when it comes to bang for buck. But for the same price, you could get an Aston garnished with 4 extra cylinders. Yeah, that's right, the DB9 is a V12 supercar that costs less than a GR Corolla. And while yeah, the interior does feel a little bit dated, who cares when you're crushing it in a V12? For the price, it's like robbing a bank without getting a criminal record. But if you want something new and stunning, take a look at the new Vantage. This car is pure gas. Powered by a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 that makes more power than the outgoing V12. Whether you're at the track or you're busy spying on the bad guys, the new Vantage makes you the center of attention. Which, not actually a great car for a spy, now that I think of it.
From the ultra-accessible V8 Vantage to the opulent grandeur of the DB9 and the in-your-face boldness of the new Vantage, the British Bruisers definitely deserve a place on this list. Because, yeah, the V8 Vantage shares some parts with Volvo's, the DB9 has some, transmission quirks, and the new Vantage, well, okay, I mean, guys, they're still British cars here. But an Aston gives you an X factor that very few other cars can match.
Pick up a new Vantage for under 80 grand. That is an ideal deal. Back to Italy for the vehicle that ticks all of the boxes. Because of all the brands on today's list, there's only one of them that's undeniably synonymous with the label supercar. And it's a Lamborghini. We're talking pure, unfiltered supercar energy, folks. The Gallardo is the car that transformed the Lamborghini badge from boutique supercar builder to a household name. They sold over 14,000 of them during their 10-year run. And that is a lot of supercars. And there is a very good reason why. The Gallardo was the first Lambo you could actually use every single day, perfectly at home picking up groceries and setting a lap record on your way home from work. If you want a supercar that doesn't need a special occasion, but makes every drive feel like one, the Gallardo might be the ideal car for you.
It's no coincidence that the first Lamborghini that actually works comes as a result of Audi buying the company. While the earlier 5-liter V10s are pretty much all Lamborghini, the 5.2s definitely aren't. And things like the HVAC system and infotainment and most of the switchgear, that's all Audi. which means you get the best of Italian design and charisma paired with the best of German engineering. Kind of a match made in heaven, if you ask me.
Pick up this beauty for just 75 grand. Or if a higher mileage Lambo scares ya, well, check out this low mileage manual for under 90. Now for something completely different, the BMW i8. It's like the DeLorean of the future, except an actual new DeLorean is coming. But hear me out. Like the old DeLoreans, it's got doors that go up, and it's a little down on power when compared to most of its competition. But don't think that just because it's a little slower than the rest, that it gives you anything short of a full supercar experience, because the i8 drives a whole lot like nothing else.
Let's talk about that drivetrain for a second. A turbocharged 3-cylinder engine might sound like it has no business being in a supercar, but made it to an electric motor and suddenly you've got the power of a V8 without it gulping down gas like it's happy hour. The i8 pulls off the party trick of being both blisteringly quick and surprisingly economical, and that's really what sets this car apart.
It doesn't have a big burbling V8 or a shrieking V12, but the i8 brings something different to the table. A proof of concept that performance and sustainability don't have to be mutually exclusive. It's got the looks, it's got the attitude, and it gives you the supercar experience. An experience you can have for yourself for the same price as a new 3 Series. You know which one I'd rather buy. Forget downsizing and turbochargers, Dodge went full American on this one. The Viper is a car built exclusively for masochists, and the 3rd gen SR10 version was fine-tuned for even more performance, stripped of any non-essential weight, and given an engine that brings tears to bald eagle's eyes. This isn't a car for the timid or inexperienced. Handling this beast requires skill because it gives you all its power with none of the hand-holding you find in modern sports cars.
Driving a Viper is sort of like wrestling a bear. It's exhilarating, terrifying, and if you can pull it off, immensely satisfying. It's a car that demands your full attention. The interior, Spartan. The ride, no other word for it, it's brutal.
I'm sweaty. Listen to me. Look at me. Look at my eyes. I'm sweating right now.
But when you fire up that monstrous, odd-firing V10, all those inconveniences fade away. Because you're not driving a Viper to be coddled. You're driving it to feel alive. The best part is, these things are ridiculously reliable. The engine isn't complicated. It's just big.
It's not as sophisticated as an Audi R8 or as elegant as an Aston Martin, but it offers a raw, visceral driving experience that few other cars can match. It is a pure slice of Americana, and all this monstrous glory can be yours for under 45 grand. But act fast because Viper prices are trending up. The 1st gen R8 was the car that made every kid, and admittedly most adults, update their dream car list. When Audi dropped this game changer in the mid-2000s, people realized that a supercar didn't have to be an impractical, temperamental diva of a machine. These things drive like they're reading your mind. Forget swiping right. With its quattro all-wheel drive system, it's more like swiping wherever the heck you want.
The R8 is easily one of the best all-around supercars ever made. But no car is perfect. The E-Gear, or R-Tronic as Audi calls it, is an automated single clutch, and it's actually a ton of fun. But there is a learning curve on how to drive it to make it last. Regardless of whether you get the V8 or the V10, the AC compressor will break and cost a couple grand to fix. And Audi was still dealing with some teething problems with direct injection. Also, the adaptive suspension. It's cool when it works, but that goes wrong too, and it's not cheap to fix. Most people just swap the coilovers though. Besides that, they're actually pretty reliable.
No matter how you spec it, you can't go wrong with an R8. Check out this gated 6-speed coupe for 60 grand, or this V10 Spider for just 75. Now, before we get to the last 2 vehicles, it's time for today's honorable mention. Look, there are some cars that absolutely nail the performance spec sheet, but don't quite have the supercar je ne sais quoi. Part of the supercar equation means people freak out when they see one. So let's pay some homage. The Porsche 996 911 Turbo. It's a Porsche Turbo, all right? It's incredibly fast. It's got the classic Porsche silhouette. And truth be told, the 911 Turbo is the yardstick that pretty much every other high-performance car is measured against. But let's be honest, it's just a 911. Even if you roll up in a GT2 RS, unless you're at a Porsche meet, no one really cares. It might be the best, but no matter how fast a 911 is, it'll never quite hit supercar status. C7 Corvette ZR1. Chevy's finest, folks. It has a supercharged V8 that kicks out 755 horses. But despite all that muscle, it's still wearing a bow tie. A supercar? It is so close, but no cigar. Mercedes SL65 AMG. When Mercedes decides to stuff a V12 into the SL, they made an absolute monster. And when they added a pair of turbos, they took it to a whole different level. But while its performance is up there with the best, it's still basically a two-seater luxury cruiser at heart. Britain's back with a twin-turbo punch, McLaren 12C. McLaren, the F1 demigods, stepped back into the road car arena after nearly 2 decades and said, "Remember us?" And the MP4 12C was their, "We're back, baby." Complete with technologies usually reserved for spaceships and time machines, the 12C is equipped with a 3.8-liter V8 that sounds like Zeus gargling thunderbolts. And is good for a mind-boggling 0 to 60 time of just 2.8 seconds. I mean, that's quicker than the time it takes your dog to realize they're not actually throwing the ball. Yes, it may not scream at you like a Lamborghini, but that's because it's busy recalculating the curvature of the Earth while you apex.
It's hard to deny the sheer engineering prowess of the car that's named after a printer. And while it's not necessarily the most reliable car in the world, actually it's not even in the top 5 of the cars on today's list, most of the problems, they got fixed under warranty. To be clear though, it's a hand-built British exotic, so when it does inevitably go wrong, you're gonna pay all the money for repairs, and have to wait months for new parts. From England.
Buy the supercar built for racers by racers for just 67 grand. And guys, we can't talk about budget supercars without mentioning the poster child of cheap factory speed. Sure, it's not Italian and no, it doesn't have a V10, but what it lacks in European flair, it makes up for in sheer unadulterated performance. When these cars came out in the mid-2000s, nothing came even close for its original MSRP of under 70K. It was as fast as a 911 Turbo for half the price.
Under the hood, you've got a twin-turbo V6 churning out 565 horsepower in the latest versions. But you can snag an early model with a mere 480 ponies and still break physics. 0 to 60? Oh, just 2.9 seconds, no big deal. Look, we could make an entire video about how awesome the R35 is. In fact, we have. Go check out the Why You Need series right up here.
The GTR is a technological marvel. With an all-wheel drive system so advanced, it makes quantum physics look like child's play. Get an R35 of your own for just 54 grand. There you have it, supercars that don't require you to sell a kidney. What's the move? What cars did we miss? Trav, well, shocker, I know, but he's probably gonna get a Viper. I mean, he's had 3 of them. And me? Well, I do love the R8, but I'm kind of feeling a GTR. But what would you pick? I wanna know. Don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and go check out this Why You Need series right up here, or whatever YouTube recommends you watch next down here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal, and promise me one thing, keep living the ideal lifestyle.